Hey everybody, what's up? Good morning. It is the 4th of September, believe it or not, 2012. It's hard to believe that Labor Day has come and gone and officially summer vacation has come and gone. Even though I know a lot of people still take this opportunity to go on vacation anyway because it's less crowds. But anyway, right there you can see the title that says the difference between Sally's two roboticizations, or the difference between both Mecha Sallys. or two Mecha Sallys, I should say, excuse me. Now you might ask yourself, well, what does this mean? What do you mean by that title? Well, usually I would have a piece of paper with me, as you know, read off somebody's joke. But I'm not. Volrock 295, I believe. That's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. It's a bionicle name that the guy uses. That he uses on DeviantArt, but basically, he just did a short kind of like comparison. He called it, basically it was another rant. I guess you could say, but it was a small rant. And it was basically entitled Mecha Sally Generations. Now I'll provide the link down below. But what he did was he basically compared the differences between this version of a roboticized Sally and in the main comics issue 29 version of a roboticized Sally. Now we both know that both versions were also written by two different writers. This one currently by Ian Flynn, the other by Ken Penders. Now here was the difference that he looked at. The difference that he looked at was the issue 29 Sally of the main comic did a lot more when she was roboticized within the span of just a few pages of mainly the second half of the main story of that issue. Basically less than 1, 2, 3 pages, or not even that. She did more than this version is. And the examples he showed was she captured the freedom fighters, she put them in roboticizers, and was about to push the button to roboticize them. Until, of course, as some people say, the Deluxe X Mecha came in, which was Dulcie, which issue 29 was Dulcie's introduction into the comic, came in with a portable de-roboticizer that they found after Sonic and Dulcie had basically taken down a hovercraft, one of Robotnik's hovercrafts, a de-roboticizer, and basically used one last shot to basically the last shot it had to de-roboticize Sally. Okay. Now, for some of you that don't know what happened and what this means, well, basically, he points it out, and I'll put the link down below, that excuse me, after the freedom fighters figured out what the device was, which I mentioned was a de-roboticizer in issue 29, Bunny came up with the idea that they could use this to their advantage by having one of them get captured, get roboticized, and from the inside of Robotnik's headquarters find out exactly what he's got planned, and try to take him down once and for all. Well, of course, Sally says, hey, I'll be the one that does it. Because, she pretty much has the mind to do it. And they basically have everything in place. One of the things they think they have in place, and I mentioned this in a video, many videos ago or something like that, they have a neural overrider, an earpiece that Rhoda makes. It's called a neural overrider. And what it does, and what it was supposed to do in this story, was after she got roboticized, it would be roboticized into her. Basically, it would become part of her, but it would allow her to keep her free will. But unfortunately, due to the fact that, I guess while she was being chased by the SWAT bots and pretending, that, she got caught and she was crying for help, basically acting out, the thing fell out of her ear. So, what happened, hold on for a second, had to let the recycling truck drive by. They make a lot of noise. But anyway, what happened was, during her, I guess you could say her acting of being caught and captured and then roboticized, the Neo overrider fell out. Snively found it and basically mentioned to Robotnik, hey, this would have kept her free will. And thus, because it fell out, she became roboticized and brainwashed. Now, here's the thing. Here's another subtle difference that 295, that Volkrock kind of pointed out. He said that unlike Sally now, the difference was she didn't have a name but a number. She was bot something, something, something. And that was it. And then he goes on to explain that within the span of just within a few pages of that main story of issue 29, which had 2 stories, let's not forget. And basically in less than a few issues of that main story, the second half of that main story, she was able to capture her fellow teammates, put them in roboticizers, and was about to roboticize them. Now you say to yourself, okay, that makes sense, but why the difference? Well, the difference is because according to him and many others, this Sally's second time around being roboticized, there are some major differences. He does basically point out she does have a name, but even after being roboticized and being weaponized and whatever, she has not done much. She hasn't been that threatening besides capturing 2 tribal leaders. And that was it. She hasn't really done anything bad. Yeah, she took down the tornado, and she throws insults sometimes because of the fact that she's brainwashed and she's controlled. But the fact of the matter is this. The fact of the matter, and the point that I guess he's trying to make is, within just a span of a few issues of 29, she did more in her first roboticized state than she has done in her current one. Now, I will agree with that, believe it or not, I will agree. But here's the thing, Volkrock, that you and a lot of other people have to look at. Just as I mentioned in another video, which was entitled Artists Have Different Art Styles, writers have different writing styles. And whether you like that writer or not, for what they did and currently do or not, that writer basically does things the way they look at it. Now you got to remember, as much as some people like yourself and some others out there may not like Ian, not from a personal standpoint, but from a writing standpoint, you got to remember, Ian doesn't have as much experience as Ken Penders does. Ken Penders had a lot more experience, to the point that he's like, okay, I could do that. Even he, I will admit this, and I'm not defending Ken Penders, but even he, when he looks at this storyline, I'm pretty sure says to himself, you know what? I could get a lot more done with that story arc, with Ian's story arc, within the span of maybe 2, 3 issues, 4 issues, than he's doing right now. It's all, you see, it's the difference in writing, folks. And the difference in writing is the fact that Ken Penders had a lot more experience, so he knew what to do. He knew how to basically plan it out. He knew that, hey, I only have one shot to do this within 1 issue, within the main story, which is going to have 2, which is going to be part of 2 stories in the issue. I only have 1 shot. Let's do it. Ian Flynn here basically is more of the kind of writer that's like, hey, I can do short stories, 2-part issue stories and all that too, or one whole story within an issue, but he's also the kind of writer that's like, you know what, if we really want long-lasting effects, we got to take this and drag it on and keep it going for as long as we can, or until our certain time limit comes up. Basically what he's doing is taking a page, in my opinion, from those over at Marvel, DC, and other comic book companies. Because he notices that some of the long story arcs, or short story arcs, or whatever you want to call them, but basically the long ones, what I'm trying to point out, always seem to have some kind of critical success, or always seem to be more memorable, whether people like them or not. So, to me, that's why I feel he's doing this story arc the way he's doing because he's taking a page out of their playbook. Basically, hey, the longer you do the story arc, the more books you expand it into or whatever, the more people are going to remember it, whether they like it or not. So he's probably taking a page out of the book, and also you got to remember he's learning still. Yeah, he's been with the book comic for about 6 years now, or 5.5 years, but he's still learning. He's still learning the trends. And I'm pretty sure, just my honest opinion, when it's all said and done, he might, not saying he would, he might consider, you know what, I'm going to go back to the shorter stories, 2-3 issue stories, something like that, and that's it. He might do that. But again, you got to remember, he's new still. He's only been with the comic 5.5 years. Ken was with the comic since what? Oh gosh, what? Since, what, 95 or something like that? 94, 95, he's been with the comic and he ran for 10 years? There's a big gap difference there, folks. But the point I'm trying to make is the difference is that, it's different writing styles. One with more experience, one that's been with a comic for 6-something years and is still learning. He's still kind of new, he's kind of still a baby, he's still a rookie. Alright? And maybe what he's doing is taking a page, learning, and maybe one of the things he's learned is by taking a page out of Marvel and DC's long story arcs, in which some have been successful and not have been successful, and is basically applying that to what's going on now. So that's, to me, Volrock, and anybody else listening, that is the difference between both versions of Sally's roboticization, her mechanization. It's basically because who's writing the story arcs and what experience they have. But Volrock 295, I do appreciate, I do respect your opinion. You are right, you do have some valid points. But let's not forget, there will be some that will argue your points. And they have a right to that too. You can't forget that. You can't forget that. There will be those who are arguing, they have a right to express themselves and feel differently. But again, it's all about the difference in writing. That's why Ken, with more experience, was able to get it done like that. And that's why Ian probably, in my opinion, is taking a page out of DC and Marvel's playbook and applying what he's learned to the story arc. And let's not forget, again, Ian's still kind of new. He's still a bit of a rookie. He's still learning the ropes. So that's all I'm going to say. Comment down below, video response if you like. I will provide the link to Volkrov's divination journal, if you will. And that's about it, and peace out.